And it's just like, wow, this is extremely stressful. This is great. Like, really loving my life over here. Hey fam, it's Rachel. Today on Crack Your Bible, we are finally finishing up Genesis chapter 13. We are going to do the overview for this. But before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe with the bell, with the parentheses, so you're notified of a new gospel message. Because, of course, Satan and YouTube and Google, they're one and the same, but they do not want you to know the gospel. So they will never notify you of a new gospel message unless you hit subscribe with a bell, with the parentheses. So let's get started. Now, you might be wondering, why am I dressed like this, like an Egyptian? Well, I am dressed like Sarai coming out of Pharaoh's palace when they got kicked out of Egypt. Now, we are in Genesis chapter 13 right now, and if you haven't been with me since I did the last one, which was back in February, you wouldn't know that every single time we finish out a chapter, I do a overview so that people who are unfamiliar with the story, people that need a refresher, people that just want to hear the story without all of this other verse by verse commentary, they can just hear the story. So I'll put that in the Genesis 13 playlist right up here, and then all the verse by verse videos will be down below. So I'm dressed like Sarai. Now you might know her better as Sarah, and her husband is Abram, and you might know him better as Abraham, but they don't change their names until Genesis chapter 15. That's 2 chapters away. Now, Sarai was living as the wife of Pharaoh in Egypt, and this was like a big scheme that Abram was running on Pharaoh. So she probably would have been dressed as an Egyptian. So they used to wear very thin, see-through linen clothes, and if it wasn't covering their shoulders, it was a tunic that went right below their boobs, and they just had their boobs hanging out, just out with the wind. And I know the modesty community, everybody's clutching their pearls all the time about nudity. They would have a heart attack. If I was dressed in a period accurate outfit for Egyptians, since my boobs would be hanging out, they'd have a problem with that. So I am covered up. This is kind of see-through, but yes, that's what they would have worn if you were up to the age of like 6. You didn't wear clothes. Sometimes it was up until puberty. You just went around naked. And slaves worked naked. People were pretty much nude all the time because it's 1 billion degrees. And I live in Las Vegas. It's 1 billion degrees here too. So not only would you be wearing thin see-through clothes with probably everything just flopping in the wind, you would have on makeup. And you'd be wearing jewelry. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, everybody's wearing makeup and they're wearing jewelry because the clothes are so similar, whether you're a man or a woman. The only way you can differentiate each other is not only your wigs, which you're wearing a wig because you don't want lice, so everybody would shave their heads and wear wigs made out of wool or animal fiber, and also you would have hair from slaves, and it was usually in braids, and obviously I'm not going to shave my own head, so I just braided my own hair today, and you would have tons of makeup. Now, the makeup you'd be wearing would be made out of lead, and that would be to protect your eyes from the glare of the sun and the heat. And it's kind of like wearing sunglasses on your eyes. Women wore lipstick, they wore blush or rouge, and then they would wear the black eyeliner and on their eyebrows as well. And this was made out of lead. And when this happens, you will produce nitric oxide, and it is something that wards off infection. Now, granted, you're going to get lead poisoning if you do this enough, so don't do this. But this is why people did it. People still do this in Nigeria. They do it in India, the Middle East. They'll still put lead on their eyes, and they think it cleanses the eyes, but you're pretty much going to give yourself lead poisoning. So this is probably what Sarai was wearing, and of course they would wear green copper on their eyes. This was mined in Egypt, or at least Egyptian-controlled mines, and they said that the goddess Hathor, which was the cow goddess, was in charge of these mines. So everybody would wear the eye makeup from her mines. We're going to see Hathor again, this calf woman goddess, again when the Hebrews, or the Israelites, the children of Israel, go out into the desert and they make a golden calf right out of Egypt. So this is where it's at. This is the stuff that she would have worn. Lots of beads, lots of jewelry, lots of see-through clothes. And yeah, so this is how she would look. And this is where we are in the story. So, okay, this is super stressful because Abram is probably around 80 years old right now, and he's super rich. He's super wealthy. He went into Egypt rich, but he came out of Egypt rolling. He's making it rain, but he didn't necessarily want to leave Egypt just yet. But we know that the whole reason that Abram, his wife Sarai, their nephew Lot, and all the people that are with him, the reason that they went to Egypt in the first place is not only are there giants in the land, but there's a famine right now. So you're going to go to the one place where there's food, there's water, and there's a place for you to house all of these people, all of these livestock that work for you. You have to have a big enough place. So anyway, Abram, he's business minded over here, and he's like, let me run this scam on Pharaoh. Let me make some money, make some coin, like get some good business contacts. And Pharaoh finds out. How does Pharaoh find out? God tattles on Abram. You know you're in trouble when God tells on you. Like, imagine how stressful that would be if you're trying to run a scam on somebody and God tells the other person, like, hut up, they're lying. Yee. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be scamming in the first place, but you know you're in trouble when God is the one that rats you out. So, no, snitches get stitches when the snitch is God, right? So anyway, Pharaoh is furious with Abram. And the reason he's furious is because God gives Pharaoh and his whole household some sort of disease or whatever. And he's like, I know there's gods in Egypt, but your God straight up came to me and told me that you're lying. So you know what? You, your wife, your nephew Lot, and all your people get out. Leave. And at no point in the story does it say that the famine is over. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Like you're in BitConnect or something.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? You're old. Your wife's old. You have no kids. You have a bajillion employees with their families, their animals, your animals. There's giants in the land and there's a famine. You just pissed off Pharaoh and you kicked out. And God tattled on you. What are you gonna do? Could you imagine how stressful this is? It's extremely stressful. It's like, what am I gonna do? Can't go back to Egypt, apparently. So, yeah, could you imagine how many people would be breathing down your neck? I'm hungry. I'm mad. Why are we having to leave Egypt? Are we there yet? What are we gonna do? This is your fault, Abram. Are they right? Yeah, of course they're right. But at the same time, it's just like, as if I don't have enough stress on my plate. Well, of course it's going to get worse because, now this is all Abram's fault. If he had listened to God in the first place and if he wasn't running scams and trying to scheme and do things in the here and now instead of trusting in God, none of this would have happened. But, you know, he's human. We make mistakes. I make mistakes. He makes mistakes. Everybody in the Bible is making mistakes. And, man, it gets worse because, of course, there's a famine right now. When there's a famine, there's not enough food to go around. If the famine is over, the land takes time to recover. But now you have all these animals and people, and they take up resources. And Lot's herdsmen and Abram's herdsmen, they get into it. Things are going to blows. There's a screaming match, and Lot's furious. So he comes to Abram, and Abram's like, calm down. Let's get this sorted out before it gets worse, before there's some sort of blow up and people make decisions that make this situation even worse. Abram says, you know what, Lot, we're going to have to separate because you have so much stuff, I have so much stuff. Like, let's put some distance between us. And of course he doesn't want to do this because Lot is his only family member. If anything happens to Abram, who's going to take over the business? Who's going to protect his wife who's getting older, Sarai? They don't have any kids. So like, this isn't really what he wants to do, but he has to do it because Lot's over here. He's mad. The land can't support them both. So they have to separate. And he says, Lot, you know, he's trying to be nice over here. He's trying to be nice, do the right thing. He's like, if you want to go left, I'll go right. If you want to go right, I'll go left. You choose. Nobody has to tell Lot, go pick the nice stuff. Go get what's great. Lot, he's like, I'm going to get some real good real estate over here. I'm going to make this work for my benefit. And, you know, Abram, he should have told him to go home because this was not his land to give. There's giants in the land. There's other people living in the land. But Abram, he's, you know, of course, thinking of himself, but he's like, let me give this land to you. It doesn't belong to Abram. It belongs to his descendants, but Abram's not thinking. It's going to cause more problems for him. But Lot looks left. He sees the Jordan River Valley, and it's like the Garden of Eden. It's so well watered, and there's vegetation. It's like Egypt, as if anybody wants to go be like Egypt. Like, anytime you see Egypt, like, don't be like Egypt. So he moves left, like he's moving away from God's plan for his life. He's moving away. And he sets up camp in the Jordan River Valley. And now Abram is on his own in this disgusting rat hole land full of giants, other people, enemies, and all his people can't go back to Egypt. And it's just like, wow, this is extremely stressful. This is great. Like, really loving my life over here. And yeah, it's his fault. It's his fault. But, you know, we all make mistakes. We all do stupid stuff. We all trust on our own abilities a lot of times because we're human beings and we're stupid sometimes. Like, we're not thinking. And this is the point where God shows up. When he's in this deserted, dry desert of a place that has just been ravaged by famine, ravaged by lots of animals, ravaged by the giants, ravaged by other people. This is when God shows up. God doesn't show up in the middle of Abram and Lot scheming, because God has already told him what the plan is. He's already told him what's up. So God is not going to step in and be like, oh, hold on. No, you're not going to do that. Oh, remember, Abram, you're not supposed to do that. No, God has already told you once. He's not going to tell you twice. But he shows up, and he's not here to nag Abram. He's not here to be like, I told you so. You're so stupid. No, God doesn't do that. So God instead reaffirms his promise to Abram, but he adds on to it. It's not, hey, I'm just going to give this land to your descendants. He said, I'm going to give this land to you and your descendants forever. Look north, look south, look east, look west. Everywhere that you see, I'm giving this land to you and your descendants forever. Not till the next famine, not till the next war, forever. It's yours. And this is a big deal because Abram doesn't have any descendants at this time. He's old, his wife's old, they have no kids. Lot is God. So it's like, what descendants? Well, this is where God has promised him. He said, if you could count the dust, you would be able to count your descendants. That's how many descendants that I'm going to give you. And this is the land that will belong to all of them. Not only to you, but to them as well forever. And it's at this point where the wheels start spinning again, where it's like they start trusting in their own ability. Abram and Sarai start trusting in their own ability to make this promise come into fruition, because everybody wants God's promises on their time. Like, where it is, where is this? Like, I need my blessing right now. And it's like, your ways are not God's ways. Your timeline is not God's timeline. So slow down. Like, just calm down real quick. Just like rest in God. Like, just hold on, sit down. Haven't you made enough stupid decisions, stupid mistakes that have blown up in your face? Oh, you haven't? Oh, let's add on to it. So this is what we're going to be going into in Genesis 14. Like, just bad decisions that are based off of people trying to make God's promises happen on their own timeline, trying to overstep their boundaries and give away things that don't belong to them, to people that this stuff is not intended for, and it's going to cause problems. And I just want to know, like, have you ever been in a situation where it's like God has told you to do something and you don't do it? And like, I've been there, because delayed obedience is still disobedience. And I know how stressful it feels when you know that you have not done what God has told you to do when he's told you to do that. So tell me down below in the comments if you've ever felt like that. Like, what did you do to get back on track where you're not just like beating yourself up about the fact that, yeah, you disobeyed God. You repent, obviously, but you're always going to like kind of feel like, woulda, coulda, shoulda, shouldn't have done that. So tell me down below if you've ever experienced that kind of stress from disobeying God, because I know I have. I know everybody in the Bible has. And Yeah, we can learn from other people's mistakes. The Bible is full of people that make terrible decisions and it blows up in their face, but God is still there for them. God is still a God who loves and cares for them. And even though He doesn't take away the consequences of our earthly sin, He still forgives us, He still loves us, and He still shows up for us in our time of despair, in our time of need. He encourages us and He reaffirms His promises to us. So let me know if you know how that is. And if you know anybody who's going through something like this, share these videos with them, because people need to know that, yeah, you can make mistakes. Yeah, these things are going to happen in your life where you do dumb things, but God always shows back up and He will direct your path, but you need to listen to Him. So that's what we are going to be going into in Genesis chapter 14. We're going to see some of the repercussions of these mistakes. And honestly, when Abram and Sarai hear these promises about, hey, descendants, that's when the wheels start spinning and they trust in their own ability and things go south. And we're still dealing with the repercussions of their bad choices because of this promise today. So again, share these videos. I hope you will like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.